I just only so much. That's a year ago. We're still doing this one, we have a $3.
And it's where the lottery money. I haven't, I used to work at Coleman. Oh, yeah. I think so litigation. Yeah, it's from another world, but I just want to at least make a you know what I mean? No, no, I'm still being a lawyer. I'm still being a lawyer. Oh, I'm still being a lawyer, still calling me. Well, some of the stuff with me, so that's Tennessee. I don't know. Well, if I would have been able to actually tell me that, you know what I mean? We get a lot of. You know, there's a youth prize today, I didn't get it. Right? Yeah. What's that? It's so interesting. We have a, well, I know we have a very, I sense of all the thinking, this may be very, and how people say, let's have something stronger in that way. I'm over the side. Oh, I think there's another plan on the calendar for today, or tomorrow, so maybe the calendar. They come to us first, they're all just that, yeah. They know what to do. Where Sunday.
House, right?
So the
But
exact
it's
same
gonna be
thing.
longer than an hour and a half.
So-
People can have
Those guys gonna make sure when they get trained up. And we will shift to our firm. So it's- you get- They don't.
over here?
Yeah. Running in May, New York.
That's all I.
And there's some guy who's social love. The partner lady. I didn't eat. I get my camera through, like 30 days. The other guy, from I don't work as a for different.
Yes.
By the way.
I'll remind,
When you have to.
remind speakers too.
I know.
Is it?
Right?
I'm gonna mention that that used to be like the running joke. Right now.
It's very heavy, so I know. Careful to get back in position, leave it there.
Yeah, I would leave it.
Okay. And then you just use the arrows. And I'll sit over here so you do what? Because see, that doesn't work. I usually have to. So, see this? Yeah. This one, you can even touch the screen. I can? Yes. That'll be easier. Can we go back? Yep, just touch over here. Oh my gosh. It'll be easier. So you don't have to worry about this, just. All right. And when he's ready to talk, I'll flip him.
Okay. Good afternoon. We have please keep enjoying your lunch. We do just talk right through our meals here so we can get more done. And we have quite a bit of business today, and I want to get to our wonderful speaker. So I will officially call the 5,762nd meeting to order. My name is Nancy Couchbrenner. I have to walk all the way over here to hit the bell. So we're being very patient at the University League here, the Union League. They are having some construction done. When we show up, we never know which meeting space they'll put us in. So we're we're being adapting here, so thank you for your patience. So, I guess I'm not really going to do a thought for the day. My main thought for the day is that the Bears apparently may need a new coach. Sorry, I'm just, for those of us who stayed up to watch the sad ending, it's a very difficult day, so. But I do have, oh, they let, I'm gonna touch the screen, let's see. You know me and technology, I have so much fun with this. So my Chicago trivia today is a little bit timely. Being September, this is the time of year when sadly we begin to say goodbye to summer. And one of the things that happens in Chicago is the bridge lifts. So the boats will start coming back. There's a great event tomorrow night on the river. They're going to be singing. You'll be singing, correct? Okay. At least our singers with the Baroque is on the river, but in a couple of weeks on the 27th, that's when the bridge lifts start. So how many bridges do lift in the city limits of Chicago?
22.
Okay, I have 22.
I think it's up closer to 50.
Hmm.
Some have been replaced.
Okay. So
You speak 52, I think.
37, we have over 60 movable bridges, but 37 lift for Bridge Lift Day. And if you're ever curious about it, because it is on a schedule now, Wednesdays and Saturdays, there's a Bridge Lift schedule calendar online, and you can look it up for Wednesdays and Saturday mornings. They'll let you know if it's canceled usually, so it's kind of a cool thing that starts technically September 27th. But there's a lot of technology involved. When I do tours, before I say we have the most movable bridges in the world, I check and see if anybody's from Amsterdam. They sometimes argue, so. So I do want to call up Wes this morning. We have had a loss in our club, and he's going to talk to us, and we'll do a 3 bell ceremony for Jim Hollensteiner. And he will tell us a bit, and we'll have a moment of silence and 3 bells. So I'll sit over there. I will. Watch out! This is
Yeah.
it's treacherous. Wait, careful! We have traps back here. Yeah, that's good.
I'm curious how many of you knew Jim Hollensteiner? Yeah, and that makes 3. So, needless to say, he had a long life. Jim passed away the 9th of this year. He was born in August 15th, 1931, here in Chicago. And he also was married for a long time, 61 years, but who's counting? Who died in 2020. They had 5 children, all of whom survived. And he also had many grandchildren. I didn't count here, but there are over 10. Let's just leave it that way. Jim maintains it was really all about increasing his knowledge. He attended North Park Academy, where he majored in economics, was a proud member of Phi Theta Pi fraternity. He graduated with distinction. Later earned his MBA at Northwestern and a law degree at Chicago Kent. There's one more person here who knew Jim. And he maintained his bar association license until he was 91. Yeah. Whether he practiced is an open question. He was a stellar athlete, competed in track, basketball, and football. High school, he was known as the speediest end in the state. And at DePaul, he was undefeated in every individual track race. He was inducted into the DePaul Athletic Hall of Fame, in 2007, where the James A. Hollensteiner indoor track was dedicated in his honor. During his junior year, he attended Exeter University in England, where he excelled on the rugby pitch, it says here. In 2024, the rugby pitch was named in his honor, as it happens. selected to the All England University's athletic track team. In the later years, he participated in the Senior Track Olympics. Never knew that. At one point, ranking in the top 3 in his age group in the country. He was also a founding member and instructor of the O. Ben Sense Water Ski School in Rollins, Montana, where his signature move was lifting one ski in one hand while skiing. He was known for his strong will, unwavering determination, and tireless work ethic. From an early age, he herded sheep, set up bowling pins, picked cherries, sold war bonds, and worked in a grocery store. Most notably, he worked as a paper boy for 9 years and was named Chicago Newsboy of the Year. Never knew that. Jim made his most prominent professional rank in the field of finance, where for 35 years he worked for the National Trade Organization for Savings and Loans, which those of us who remember him, that's probably what we all remember. And I might say he lived through the whole change in the savings and loan. Some of you may know that savings and loans went through a huge change and a huge shrinkage. And some of you may not know that they still exist. There are savings and loans to this day. He played a key role in crafting bank legislation, creating products and services that are common today, including CDs and IRAs. He was instrumental in standardizing mortgage loan documents across all 50 states, because savings and loans were state institutions. If you borrowed money here and then borrowed money in Wisconsin, it was an altogether different thing. Frequently called to Washington, D.C., he collaborated with 3 sitting presidents, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford, and served on President Johnson's task force for lower income housing. His expertise was widely recognized in the industry. Pardon me. Despite his many accomplishments, family and friends were most important to him. His spirit inspired his children to embrace life's opportunities and challenges, and he was dedicated to ensuring his children were well educated, successful in their pursuits, appreciative of different cultures, and committed to their communities. He loved attending his children's and grandchildren's sporting events, sometimes driving hours just to watch a race lasting only seconds or minutes. Sorry, we don't want to lose the computer here. He had friends of all ages and walks of life, many of whom were recipients of a poinsettia at holiday time. He was devoted to his community and country, incredibly proud to have served in the U.S. Army. As a Rotarian, he held the distinction of being the oldest member of Rotary One in Chicago, the first Rotary club in the world, where he advocated, for women being added to the membership. Jim and Wanda established the James and Wanda Hollensteiner Foundation, contributing to numerous causes, including the Lyric Opera, Lamb's Farm, Royal Family Kids Camp, and Night Ministry, among others. Spent most of his time in later years in Flathead Lake in Montana, where he welcomed friends and family, and any fish that weren't smart enough to duck the hook. The world's a better place because he was here. He'll be missed. And this says, and I don't know if this is past time or not, in lieu of flowers, the family requests that memorial donations be made to one of Jim's supported charities: Northwest Montana History Museum, the Flathead Lakers, or the Wanda Hollensteiner Art Gallery at Flathead Valley Community College. And there will be memorial services announced.
Please join us all in a moment of silence.
Mhm.
That was beautiful. I wish I had known him. So also, if you're not aware, we've had a loss in our Rotary International family. And when I was at Calgary, many of us were at Calgary. Sanku Yoon, am I pronouncing that correctly? He appeared via satellite and was very hopeful at that time, but he did succumb to his cancer battle, and so we've lost the former RI president-elect. So I don't know if you want to let everybody know that.
If there is time, if you have time in the program, I know somebody wrote that. They wrote a beautiful text about his life. Oh, I can send it to you
Okay,
or read it.
okay. Yeah, and we'll try to do that with the next meeting. That'd be great. Thank you. So if you're not sick of seeing my little picture, to remind you to get engaged. It's like a threat. I'm gonna keep showing it until we get more people. This is a good turnout today. Thank you, everybody. But step up. I'm glad to have people help greet at the meetings. Welcome, especially the many visitors that we have. Give us your thought for the day. So looking forward to engaging more in our club. Again, greeters, thought for the day, but also we'll be talking more about engagement from the membership committee in terms of mentoring new members, lots of different roles that we really would appreciate people just bite off a piece of making our club re-engaged and better for our community and the world. So also a reminder to be sure and register for meetings. We have a great turnout today for our great speaker, and we look forward to making sure that people are arriving at coming to meetings. We are doing a little bit of a different, we have a fifth Tuesday coming up on September 30th, so we'll be finalizing some plans tonight with the board, but it looks like we might do an off-site gathering in the happy hour after hours on that Tuesday. So stay tuned, we're finalizing that this week. Just a reminder, many of you may have noticed that monthly membership dues there was just a little glitch and they did not get processed. So we are working on that and we're aware of that. Also, we had a great speaker at the Zoom meeting for those of you who were able to attend that. I think it might be recorded too and available, but Joe and Liz Henry, who make that bourbon that we're selling as a fundraiser right over the border. They had a great story about their farm up in Wisconsin, and you can look more information about them and the events they do online. Just a reminder, our speakers that we get, Eric, you're doing such a great job. If anybody remembers the Windy City Ramblers that came and he kind of played us out at that meeting, their youth group was very much featured at the recent Jazz Fest. They talked about them in the Trib, they featured them, and so that was great. And then our recent speaker, K10, right? T10. I always, yeah. Initials, but our speaker that his organization rehabilitates equipment for handicapped kids. It's a great program. He had such great energy. They have an event coming up September 20th. All are welcome. They would love that. It's a music event, and we'll make sure that information gets online or gets out in an email for everybody. So RI September, we have a theme every month, of course, and this month is basic education and literacy. So I think that is a perfect lead-in to our speaker today, who is the editor of our Rotary magazine. So hopefully you all enjoy it. I find even the travel information and what Rotarians are doing around the world. So I'm going to let Huang introduce himself, talk about what he does. He has a slideshow, and thank goodness Allison, my technical support, is going to switch us over to his slideshow. And he can share about himself and the magazine.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Just watch our treacherous tape program here. We're not trying to trip up our speakers, but we've made it a little.
Where's that mode? I'm blind.
Can we do without it?
There you go. So, and you can just touch this,
How do I
just page down,
page down that will let me go? Okay,
page down.
great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much. Oh,
Yes.
thank you very much for the invite. It means a lot to be here because it's like a homecoming of sorts. Because as you guys all know, Rotary Magazine actually started at this club, Rotary Club of Chicago. And this guy on the left is Chesley Perry. And he, on your website, you said that he was the first general secretary of Rotary International. Actually, in 1911, he and Paul Harris co-founded Rotary Magazine, in those days called the National Rotarian. And then he was the first editor-in-chief and held that position for 17 years. So at that, let me just, yeah. So it's a great honor to be back. And those great leaders, they are very visionary because they believe that at the early days of Rotary was expanding, sharing information, storytelling was critical to growing our organization. And Perry would be proud to learn today that Rotary Magazine is now one of the longest continually published magazine in the United States. And with 370,000 circulation globally, because we also have a regional magazine, I'll tell you guys later. And our magazines has gone through a lot of over the 100 years through many editors. It's becoming a very, very sophisticated award-winning publication. So I'm very honored to be the editor-in-chief 3 years ago. And I just want to talk about how we carry on with Perry's legacy and use storytelling to continue to grow our organization. But before that, I want to start telling something about myself and how I end up with Rotary. I think might be slightly add a little bit personal anecdotes to this presentation about work-related stuff. How do I do? Oh, I do this. So my story, as you can tell, I grew up in China, was born and raised in China in the central city of Xi'an. Those of you who visit China will know it is the home to the emperor's terracotta soldiers. And as you can tell, the terracotta soldiers there. And it's an ancient city it was the capital of 13 dynasties and produced 100 emperors. Right now, the current Chinese president, he is also from this city. That's why people call him the communist, the new emperor. So because he's also from the city. And I grew up in the Mao era. Chairman Mao was in the 1970s when China was ruled by one of the dictators of the 20th century, Mao Zedong. And China, and my father was an intellectual, but because of his, he was outspoken against some of the government policies. So they sent him to a factory to be re-educated. So I grew up with in a factory, but he was an avid reader, very well read, and he was a good storyteller. Every summer evenings, we always attract a large crowd in the courtyard. People were eager to listen to his stories. I guess I inherited that passion and became a writer later. And then that was my grandmother with bound feet. Holding my nephew, and I later wrote a book about her, about talking about my relationship with my grandmother because she was obsessed with death and the rituals. Then there was a whole tradition about him that the Penguin wrote, published it in my memoir later. I live in the tail end of the Maoist days, and then China was very isolated until 1972 when Richard Nixon visited Beijing, and then 1976 Mao died. China opened up to the outside world, and suddenly we saw something we had never been allowed before because this opening up. Oops, sorry.
So our setup's a little crazy today.
Good.
Got double computer.
Oh, so how do I go back? I will.
Lost our tech support.
Okay, great.
Let's see.
And
Yeah.
because I was one of the beneficiaries of this open door policy. And China, for years, they closed the universities because Mao didn't like the intellectuals to speak out against them. And then they reopened the university. I was able to attend one of the best universities in Shanghai, the largest city in China. And in 1984, when I was 20, I was sent to study in the United Kingdom on a full scholarship. And it was quite an eye-opening experience because when we were growing up and we felt like we were told by the government media that how people in the United States, America, they suffer from poverty. You guys couldn't afford to eat white bread. You can only eat dark bread because we're so poor. And then each time I couldn't finish a meal, my mother always said, finish it. American children are starving. And then at school, my teacher said, if you have $1, always spend half and save the other half for the poor children in America. And then when I was in the UK, I walked into the grocery store when the supermarket, when I saw walking on the cookie aisle, there was like dozens of colorful varieties. I realized how brainwashed I was. And then as China gradually opened up, most of you have probably remember in the spring of 1989, the Chinese students they took to the street and staged protests against they asked for political reforms. And then I was then a graduate student of journalism. I was an intern at the BBC. I was sent to Beijing to cover the historical visit by Soviet leader then Gorbachev. But then I end up getting involved in the students' protest. And on June 3rd, 1989, and the government sent troops to the city and brutally cracked down on the protest movement, that opened fire at the residents. And luckily for me, my parents were relieved to find out that I wasn't the student leader, I was able to get away without getting shot. Several of my friends, they were injured. So after the protest movement, a lot of students have left China to pursue their advanced studies in the US. So I was one of the students. I was enrolled in the university on the East Coast, but because I couldn't get my passport out on time, I ended up in Springfield, Illinois, the land of Lincoln, to work on my second master's degree on journalism and politics. And afterwards, I ended up working for a magazine here to cover the General Assembly. So for years and years, I know probably more than about the Illinois politics and then Illinois residents. We covered Jim Edgar years, the Jim Thompson years, all the way till Pat Quinn, and covered a lot. But I was young and restless, and then I felt like I wanted to go back to Asia and use my bicultural background. So in 1997, I went back to China at Asia actually to work for, how do I go now? To work for the New York Times, serving as the assistant to the bureau chief in Beijing. And it was one of the most exciting years in China. We traveled all over Asia, interviewed a lot from prime ministers to army generals to celebrities and business leaders. It was quite exciting at the same time. It's also very perilous. Oftentimes, in Asia, when you end up visiting places that the government did not want you to see, you end up getting arrested or detained, and multiple times. So in 1997, when I was visiting Tibet with two New York Times journalists, suddenly there were 3 military jeeps followed us. We didn't know what it was. And at the border, they suddenly jumped out of the car and then swooped down on us and then put a hood on my head. For a while, we thought we got kidnapped by the local bandits because it was very prevalent there. It turned out it was the local police. They thought that we worked for the CIA because our bureau chief carried a satellite phone. In 1997, that was a rare rare device, and nobody had that. They mistakenly thought I was a dissident. So they escorted me back to, I can't move this. Okay.
Yeah, hey, while we're on a hiatus, anybody's was in the bathroom here, down the hall? Skyline picture, nope. Good.
That's okay. I don't need it. Oh, yeah. That's good. No,
Back.
back.
These are the arrows.
So I have to go there.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And that was my photo in Tibet. I was interviewing the Dalai Lama. And then they escorted me back to Beijing and subject me to a whole month of this terrible interrogations, sleep deprived interrogation for a month, having us resign until the New York Times contacted Madeleine Albright. She was the Secretary of State. So because her intervention, they released me and 3 other journalists and then coming back to China, coming back to the US. And then on the day of my release, Madeleine Albright saw me and she said, why don't you go and get a real safe job so that you don't get into trouble all the time? So I did come back. It was really very touching the day when I grew up in China and you left China and came back to the United States, at Chicago O'Hare Airport. This guy stamped my passport and said, "Welcome home." By that time, I had tears. And it was a very touching moment. So I decided to become a US citizen. And I did find a real job then while working for the Wall Street Journal agent. I found Rotary. One of the former General Secretary's sister was my English professor. So he recommended me for Rotary. So I joined Rotary in 1999. And I was lucky enough, one of the things to work on was the centennial celebration. I actually came to Rotary Club meeting, attended the Rotary Club meeting. It was a huge venue with 150 people to hear one of our centennial presidents to deliver a speech. So it was great. This is like 25 years later, 20 years later, coming back. And while working for Rotary, I decided to, once a journalist, you're always a journalist, continue with my storytelling skills. I started to translate books, storytelling books from China into English. One of the books that involves interviews with people on the street, and it reminds me a little bit of Stas Turco of Chicago here. So I had that translated. It became a mini bestseller. And then we had another book about the early Christian missionaries in many parts of China, and then their fascinating stories over the years, how they changed a lot of the religious landscape of China. So after that, and then I felt like I really wanted to, when it became very successful, I wanted to be a full-time writer. I really wanted, but in order to become a full-time writer, I want to earn a lot of money so that to achieve financial independence. So I left Rotary and then to work for HSBC, the largest European bank, and then Aon Corporation. And then at the same time, I start to working on working on my books. And during the past 20 years, no, 15 years, I wrote 13 books and the translations. And one of them, the Little Red Guard is a memoir that won the Washington Post 2012, the best nonfiction book. It was about my grandmother and about growing up in China, how the changes that happening there. And working on these books, and but I still felt very attached to, oh, sorry, why am I going, oh, okay. So when COVID happened, I actually was planning to go to Europe to travel around the world to write stories and work on my books. And then when I heard the magazine, the editor-in-chief's job became vacant. I was so in awe of the history of Rotary magazine. So I came back and became the editor-in-chief of the magazine 3.5 years ago. We were very lucky in those days because the magazine was just facing some real challenges. As you know that right now, all print publications are facing challenges. due to readers' preference for digital platforms, the cost of paper, especially during COVID and the war in Ukraine, and made it the paper very expensive. And then when so many publications, as you can see from the Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, Time Magazine, they're all facing tremendous challenges. But we are in a very lucky spot because of demographics. As you know, that 75 of the readers, Rotary Magazine readers or Rotary members, they're 55 and above. So they prefer, 70% told us in surveys that they prefer the print publications, read the real magazine. So we are doing try to preserve our print publication, which has more than 100 years old. At the same time, we also want to develop our digital platforms to make it more acceptable to younger members and to the general public. Right now, for each magazine, you probably each month you read the magazine, so it involves a very meticulous process. First, all of our staff members were very lucky because a lot of journalists they were laid off from the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, AP. So we were able to recruit them, and our journalists, our staff, they either come from Associated Press, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Magazine, Chicago Sun-Times. So we're a very professional group. And each story, sometimes for a cover story, it takes 6 to 7 months to develop, from the interviewing process to the final writing to the copy editing, fact checking, some of the very rigorous process like in the New York Times. But it's very rewarding that we got tremendous feedbacks. And then for one of the things that I started with Rotary Magazine is because we try to expand our print coverage to include more international stories. Now, if you read the magazine, it's about Rotary in many parts of the world. At the same time, we try to dig deeper into some social issues. So Rotarians, when you read the magazine, it's not just about Rotary, it's about some urgent social issues that how is Rotary's response to it? How are we as society dealing with that? I hope I don't destroy your computer. That's fine.
Can you lift the computer?
So
I know.
Lift
that's
it.
okay.
I'm gonna take the
Yeah.
other one.
Lift this one up.
Thank you.
Great. So we try to do more in-depth coverage. For example, our coverage of American opioid crisis, and then the mental health issues, loneliness, and then we talk about many of the Empower Women and Girls projects, and about one of the things about the Alzheimer's disease, and we got overwhelming response. One of the stories published, and then they immediately fundraising. They got after is a cover story published, they got $500,000 within a month. People refer to the stories from a lot of the non-Rotary members. So it's a lot of power over there. That's why we cherish it. At the same time, we also try to invest in our digital publication. Right now, Rotary Magazine, if you Rotary Magazine, if you read the magazine, it's not just a magazine. We have the Rotary Voices podcast. We featured one of your presidents was featured, Alita Williams. Is she still with? Oh, she's not here today. So we interview celebrities and thought leaders, Rotarians, talk about the extraordinary experiences. And we have reached, within 3 years, we have reached more than 1 million listens. And both toward the Rotarians and public, this is our extension. We also have our blogs and our webpage. Please do check. You go type into rotary.org/magazine. You can read all the stories about Rotary and everything. So I have to say that looking back, the Rotary magazine, when Paul Harris first started, it was only a 12-page periodical. Oh my God, this is getting on.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's great.
I would also
Yes, thank you. So 100 years ago, when Paul Harris and Chesley Perry started the magazine, this is the original. This is the bound of all the. It was published in 1911-12. It was a 12-page periodical, and in the first issue, Paul Harris wrote a 5,000-word essay about what it means to be a Rotarian. I guess we can't even publish half that size now. People's short attention span, nobody will read it. There were no photos. But then over the years, and then they really started getting momentum during World War II, and the Rotary's covering of the war. You got the coverage from Winston Churchill became a contributor, and over the years you have Kurt Vonnegut, Ernest Hemingway, Sherwood Anderson, all these, including recently Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev, a lot of famous writers contributed to our Rotary magazine. So we feel the responsibility to preserve this magazine, the print magazine, as well as develop the digital format. But at the same time, for your club, I really feel like please use the resources that's available that to share your stories apart from the magazine. Tell us your exciting stories, and also use your own digital platforms such as your social media, your webpage to share your stories. I think every member has some extraordinary stories to tell. I hope that you can share and then grow our Rotary. And when Chesley Perry was around, he oversaw the expansion of Rotary from 16 clubs to 5,000 during his 17 years. He personally opened the first international office in Zurich, Switzerland. It's still very strong there. Now I hope that we can all follow a Paris example and then do the same. And thank you very much.
My gosh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I know it's still right here. I'm sure there's a question. So,
Sorry for that.
oh, are we kidding? No, we made it extra challenging, so. Are there questions? I'm sure, yep.
Great.
Timo,
So
let's do
your mother tongue is Chinese.
Yes,
You obviously speak beautiful English.
thank you
In
with a
what-
strong accent.
In what language do you think you are the better writer?
English,
Why is
because
that?
for years,
Why is that?
because I left home so early when I was 22. So for years, English was my main.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. When I started dreaming in English, I knew that was.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many people are in the team that put the magazine together?
We have 10 people now to put together every 12 issues each month, and also write for the web and to produce our podcast and all the different blogs.
Yep, Lisa. No, Deanna.
Since it's all over the world, you must have different versions of the.
That's a great
Yeah.
That's a great question. I actually need a slide. I did miss that. Rotary Magazine, when it started out as flagship magazine here, but as Rotary expanded to Winnipeg and then Atlantic, we have the first British magazine. Now we have 33 regional magazines published in 20 languages. These are independent ones, but they take half the content from us and then they put their local perspective on things. So
One more, Chuck.
I just have a quick question. How are decisions made regarding the content?
it's we have an editorial meeting every week. All the stories we hope to have some unique and then try to inspire other club members. Some of the stories they are too mundane and we're not able to write it. We have them publish their own website. For example, every week we receive stories about people that say, we are 50th anniversary, we're 75th anniversary. I would tell our Rotary One has more than 100 years old anniversary. So these stories are not, but there are certain unique aspects that other Rotary clubs they feel inspired. And there is an issue that deal with that has a very trendy issue that people be interested, we cover it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We do have a little small, but we're watching out for all of our. They've been made by a local organization, Sad Boy Tees, and a good way to carry all the stuff, the books, the magazines, but also share that Rotary name. So
Thank you.
so
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
It's so good. And we made it extra challenging, but you managed that. I know, I don't think we have any visiting Rotarians, but I know we have a guest, Marshall.
No.
Do you want?
Is a friend of mine, Chad Mitchell. Chad, you want to introduce yourself?
You have to come up to the microphone. We do have some people on Zoom, so just come from here and watch out for our zone over here.
Awesome. Well, my name's Chad Mitchell. I'll say I'm from Seattle, just so you know which Washington I'm from. But this is the first Rotary Club I've been to. Marshall and I were neighbors in Downers Grove. We lived in Chicago for 10 years. We went to the Bears game last night. Oh, but I love our Rotary Club where I live in Richland, Washington. They have a race of ducks in the Columbia River every year. They're the little yellow plastic ducks that you can buy. And it's a great fundraiser, right? You pay money, you buy the duck, and then the winner, right, gets some prize, but all the proceeds go to benefit different organizations in our community. So happy to be here with you. I love that Marshall invited me and that it was able to work out. I'm going to have to leave soon and catch my flight back home, but I love the service that you guys do, and to be here, the first service club ever. What a privilege for me. So thank you for having me.
Sure. Thank you, Chad. Now, you just have to join the Ducks group then. Yeah, it's great. That's the beauty of Rotary to me. Everyone that you visit, I visit when I go out and ski in Breckenridge, and most of their conversation is about who had a moose in their yard that morning. So every club is different. It's a regional thing. So I just want to remind that we had a little, switched it up a little bit. Our September 16th meeting at Remington is usually fellowship, but we do have our district governor there, Bonnie Sanchez Carlson. So please join us at Remington for that. Then the following meeting will be, we'll do fellowship here at Union League. Every Friday, we have the Union League Club, a group that meets. Ted is usually there, so please join in that, a very, very casual and fellowship. And we also have Rotary Means Business Fellowship in downtown Chicago, the first Thursdays at noon. And I just learned that one of our very active new members, John, is not here today, but that's how he found Rotary. So you just never know how someone will plug into what we're doing here. I'm very disappointed that Richard didn't come today. He knew we were going to sing to him because today is Richard's birthday. So we have a board meeting later and he said, but it's my birthday. And I said, but you got to show up. So we'll see. I know he didn't want us to sing to. I know it. Just a reminder, we're certainly having a lot of discussion at the board level, at the foundation board with Jim's leadership as we look at re-energizing many aspects of the club. So we'll be talking about engaging in the club, and then we'll be talking in the near future about our foundation, our I Foundation, Polio Plus, just how we can all be working to support those kind of activities and world impact. Yep, Lisa.
I think you all just got a survey.
Thank you. Good job. So yes, we have a survey. Please do respond to that. It really helps us. As Sarah pointed out at our retreat, it's helpful to us to have that information every year. We need to compare where we are, and that's very important. It will be a big part of our efforts going forward to respond to what members are seeking for our club to be engaged and to continue that impact. So as Lynn pointed out today, social media, getting the word out, spreading information about us is so critical. I love the Rotary magazine. I recently saw an idea about somebody in their club that just reached out to people who had left the club and had an alumni gathering and brought a lot of people back. So there's a lot of ideas there. We need to continue to spread the word with our social media. So now if everyone would stand and join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And the fifth, will it be fun? Okay, thank you so much. Please register for the meetings and we'll see you soon. I have to get over here and ring the bell. I get more steps in the bell.
There you go.
Move down to there.
You know, you guys get up there, I hate being or.